In this video, our guests Neza and Harald from Adspert company. Adspert is a machine learning software for optimizing and automating PPC campaigns for Amazon sellers. And in this video, our guests will be sharing their thoughts on ideal structure for PPC campaigns. Also, they will explain what are the most important elements when you are setting up and managing and preparing your advertising on Amazon. Also, they will give us an overview on bid and keyword strategies. Also, they will explain how to make sure that paid and organic sales, they don't block each other. And finally, you will also hear how machine learning softwares like Adspert could help optimize advertising and why it might be beneficial versus you setting up advertising campaigns manually. So enjoy this conversation hosted by Lisette Lees. She works with different Amazon brands. And as always, all the links to Adspert, to our guests, and other related videos you will find below in the description. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Orange Click and click the notification bell, because here we talk to different Amazon expert service providers, software creators, and event organizers.
Hello, Neza and Harald. It's great to have you here today to talk about PPC, which is definitely a topic every seller is interested in. So before we start to have some discussion about PPC, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do in Amazon space and how do you help Amazon sellers?
So to be polite, Neza first.
Ladies first. Okay, so hi, my name is Neza. I'm one of the product managers at Adspert. We are, in a nutshell, a bid management startup helping our customers, be them sellers or vendors, in fact, to optimize their Amazon advertising campaigns. So we do a lot of different things, from bid optimization to bid adjustments, however little there are available on Amazon, to keyword harvesting, product targeting harvesting, and so on and so forth. And we do that all automatically with our lovely algorithm, with our amazing algorithm whose creator we have here with us. So I'll hand over the word to Harald.
Perfect, thanks. I'm Harald, co-founder of Adspert and CTO, and as mentioned by Neza, responsible for the algorithm itself. So we have a core algorithm that is doing the logic, so setting the bids, optimizing the prices, and setting the bid adjustments. And this core handles all the important platforms. Amazon, of course, is one of the most important ones, but this optimization core supports Google AdWords as well, and Bing and Yandex.
Okay, very great. So today I will asking you a couple of PPC related questions, but to try to keep it more or less logical, let's start with about the topic of building campaigns. So in your opinion, what is the perfect build up for PPC campaigns, and how should sellers know how they should build everything up?
I'm assuming you're referring to the campaign structure of the Amazon advertising account. So, I mean, of course, the easy answer would be that it all depends on the strategy, but we have noticed and we have worked with all different types of structures that are out there. The best practices that we have come up with was to recommend our customers to have as little campaigns as possible with more granulation on the ad group level. That if then in the ad groups, they can have single products or logical groups of products that actually kind of works around the Amazon limitation of not having product level reporting. But all of that said, here at Adspert, we take great pride in being able to work with whatever campaign structure is thrown at us. We always take the best out of it, and our machine learning decision tree actually works with the information of the entire campaign. So of the entire advertising account, sorry. So if the data from a single campaign is insufficient, we go beyond that to make sure that we always get the best results for our customers.
Okay, and as a background information, what other options there are for building up a PPC ad campaign structures? Can you name a couple of ways sellers have built up their PPC?
Well, there are a lot of various approaches. You could structure the campaigns by product types or categories, by industries, or by target groups to sell. If we are talking about different platforms, then of course you could structure it by country or continent. So whatever you like, and there's not a correct way to do it, it somehow depends.
Okay, so when the PPC ad campaigns are running, what kind of action sellers can take to optimize those campaigns?
It has to do a lot with what the goals of the campaigns are. So as we know, there are always business goals behind each campaign. But namely, the biggest thing that, of course, they can do is manage the bids and the bid adjustments, the few that are available in Amazon. Again, I mentioned that because it's a pain point for us. We can do quite a bit of magic with more bid adjustments, but right now we have what we have. So that is definitely one of the biggest things, monitoring the keyword and the product targeting performance, making sure that the bid is there, that it's reflecting the performance reports, and making sure that the conversions are always being supported by sufficient budget and a sufficient bid behind a specific keyword or a specific product target. Of course, they can also be playing around with prices. So for those sellers that are working with Amazon advertising exclusively, there's a not that new, but still, I think it's from earlier this year, repricer available that allows a few very simple rules to change the price of a specific product to make sure that they always, or as many times as possible, win the buy box, which we all know is kind of the thing that marks the difference, that buy box, that magical buy box. And of course, I mean, you can always, just by properly managing the product feed, making sure that the product descriptions are in there, that the product pages are there, that all of that helps with the performance of the campaigns, be it directly or indirectly, because ultimately all roads lead to Rome, and customers can find all of that information. So the better it's structured, the more it's coherent, the better the results of that initial ad that drove the customer to wherever it is that they land, be it on the product page with the buy box there already ready to go, or the company page. So yeah, that is definitely what I would mention as the things that they can do to optimize. Of course, it wouldn't be fair to only talk about that, because that's a lot of work, that especially for sellers that are selling a lot of products, or for agencies, that is a significant amount of manual work, especially if the sellers are interested in manual profit maximization, which is something we covered in our Sellerfest video. So of course, we're always willing and ready to lend a helping hand and just let our algorithm take over and do all of those decisions for them on the go every day, thousands, millions of decisions per day, so that they can just kind of relax, focus on the business decisions, and make sure that we work for them, so that they don't work. Actually, let me rephrase that. We help them to step away from all the manual work, so that they can think about the big picture. So instead of them working for Amazon advertising, with our help, we can make sure that the Amazon advertising works better for them, if that makes sense.
And most likely, the manual work will even increase in future. Right now, it's already a huge work that needs to be done every day. In future, most likely, there will be some changes on Amazon. Most likely, they will introduce more dimensions. So in addition to set bids, you will need to set bid adjustments. And most likely, there will be a lot of dimensions. Having a look at Google AdWords, they started with ad scheduling and then introduced device. Afterwards, the demographics, so age, gender, then topics, interests, location, whatever there is, it's almost a dozen of dimension meanwhile, whereas Amazon only has the top of page dimension and that's it. So there will be more dimensions in future. And that will be horrible because you even have to work on the combination of the dimensions. You can't work on a single dimension, then work on the next one. So it's a really exponential curve. So strongly recommended to use an automated system.
So as I'm hearing what you're saying about the ad space on Amazon, it has definitely improved a lot, and it can't be managed by the same person who is searching for the products, trying to market the products, trying to sell the products. You mentioned there are systems and programs that do optimization based on machine learning. Can you explain a little bit how your program is doing that and how does it work?
Yeah. There are mainly two different tasks that needs to be done. The first task is to model the market. So you need to know what will happen if I increase a certain bit, what will happen about the number of impressions, the number of clicks, and what will happen to the effective CPC. All the platforms usually are second price auction platforms. So if you place a bid of $1, most likely you pay a bit less because it's a second price auction platform. So perhaps 90 cents. So you don't immediately know what will happen if you increase your bid to $1.50. You might pay $1.40, but perhaps only $1.10. So that's something you need to learn. And that's what we call modeling the market. We do it by modeling two important aspects. First of all, it's the market volume. It's about impressions and clicks, depending on the bid. And the second one is about the competition in the market. So there might be a high competition. And if the competition is high, most likely you have to pay high prices. So if you place a bid of $1, you probably need to pay effectively 95 cents. Whereas if the competition would be low, most likely you only pay 50 cents. So that's modeling the market. It's about volume and competition. On the other hand, you need to forecast two really important key figures, and these are the conversion rate and the conversion value. Conversion rate is the probability of someone doing a purchase after clicking the ad. Might be 5%, for example, and the conversion value is the shopping basket value. So if he buys a product that is cheap or expensive. And putting all this information together, you can come up with a formula describing the profit depending on the bid. And what Adspert internally is doing is maximizing the profit. So we know the revenue part and the cost part, and you can build the difference, if you like, take into account fees or whatever there is. And for a certain bid, the profit will be maximized. And that's the optimal bid we afterwards set. Because these two topics are really different, we come up with different approaches. Modeling the market, you already saw there are curves, so it depends on the bids. So we come up with some curve fitting algorithms, whereas forecasting the conversion rate and the conversion value right now is done by using random forests. A forest is a collection of trees, and tree is usually a decision tree. So the tree can figure out what's important to know. For example, the most important is a campaign manual one or an automatic one? The second one, which product is sold, or what category, which detailed product? Is it small or is it large? So we build a tree, and the tree takes into account all dimensions that are important to finally forecast the conversion rate and the conversion value. Two different approaches, and if you plug in everything together, then that's the Adspert AI part.
Okay, and for sellers who don't have that kind of tool available, do you have any tips how to find the best bids for their products? Because you are mentioning bids a lot because they are indeed very important for sellers. So do you have any tips to share?
It's a hard job. Usually for platform Amazon, everyone is used to go with ACoS goals. So that's what they know. So what you could do is set a certain bid, and if the ACoS is 30% and you want to go by 20%, reduce it a bit, otherwise increase it. that's a way to go, quite some work, because you need to pay attention. First of all, there's a seasonality. There's a seasonality within the year, a seasonality within a week, and a seasonality within each single day, the intraday seasonality. So keep this in mind. In addition, there's a certain delay. In fact, there are two types of delays. If you sell expensive products, most likely the customer sees an ad, thinks, oh, that's nice, but I have to ask my girlfriend, or I need to sleep one more time. So it might take 2 or 3 days to finally be purchased by this customer. And unfortunately, also Amazon is one of the biggest companies worldwide. They are a bit slow in delivering the data via API. So in addition, there might be a technical delay of 1 or 2 days. So be careful with most recent data. Of course, it's a pity, because if you want to set up-to-date bits, the most recent data is the most worthful, but be careful. Yeah, and last but not least, even if you are really busy and adjust all these bits and are able to reach 20% ACoS, it might not be what you initially wanted to do, because, and that's somehow a conflict, everyone talks about ACoS, but in fact what they want to do is maximize their profit. They simply have some learnings of the past, or they know their industry, and they know that a certain product category usually goes quite well with an ACoS of 25%, the other one with 20%, and the third one with 15%. But in fact, what you should do is trying to maximize your profit, and the ACoS should be a result.
Okay, so what metrics do you recommend to look for and analyze when trying to maximize and get the most profit out of the ads?
Yeah, it's the price, it's profit. And that's it. And profit is revenue minus cost. And the cost is created by clicks. So it's about the number of clicks and the effective CPC. And the revenue is the number of conversions multiplied with the average shopping basket value. And that's what I described before. We have a strong look at the profit, and ACoS is a result of profit maximization from our point of view. Nevertheless, we support all these usual goals. So of course, using Adspert, you can reach a certain ACoS goal, or you can spend a certain amount of money per month.
Okay, very good. I think that's very important for the sellers to understand and dive a little bit deeper into the numbers and data they get out of Amazon to really know how much profit they make, instead of just looking some certain part of the performance metric Amazon gives them. So we talked about bids. Can you explain a little bit how to choose the right keywords and what keyword strategy to go for when setting up campaigns?
Okay, then let me answer quickly. There are a lot of different approaches, but we stick to one simple one. It's having a look at the search query report. So of course, Amazon knows what the user enter in the search field, even if they don't click, and even if there's not a single impression. So they have a huge list of search terms used by certain customers. And that's, of course, Amazon matches it to certain products and then decides if a certain product is shown or not. It depends on the keywords that are booked in the Amazon account. And using this search query report, you can come up with keywords that are important or should be added. So what happens quite often is that the customer creates an auto campaign and has 2, 3, or 4 auto targets. And we automatically pull the corresponding search report and have a look at good combinations and add these ones to the linked manual campaign. So what we do is, once we found a set of keywords that look promising based on the search query report, we exclude it in the auto campaign and add it to the manual campaign, enabling the system to be more granular. Before, you had only few auto targets, and afterwards you might have hundreds of keywords or criteria to bid on, which of course results in a better solution and more profit and more revenue.
Okay, very interesting. So one thing is for sure, sellers should or sellers always have organic sales and also sales from the ads. So I know you wanted to talk a little bit about how to make sure whether paid and organic sales are not blocking out each other. So can you share information about that?
Yeah, that's a really hot topic. And it's really interesting because usually the customers are quite blind and they don't really know what happens. There are two things that might happen. The first one is if you spend money on advertising, you pay money to gain a certain customer. But if this customer would have bought your product without advertising, then it's a cannibalization. So you pay for customers that most likely would have been a customer going the generic path and not the paid search path. So this, of course, is horrible. But it might be exactly the other way around. So by spending money on advertising, you create awareness. Afterwards, people know your product. It's somehow a branding effect. And also spending money on paid search to create paid sales. There might be even more generic sales in addition. So it might be a cannibalization, a negative effect, or a positive effect. And you only can answer these questions by building up a simultaneous history of paid sales and of generic sales or conversions, and afterwards compare it. And the third information you need is mainly the price at a certain date. Then you can see if a price increase or decrease has a positive or negative effect, and same applies to bids. But in this context, the price is even more important than the bids. And really, almost no customer knows if this effect is positive or negative in average, or for a certain category, or for a single product. And that's a huge leverage, I think. And that's why we plan not only to provide a bidding, but a pricing too. And it will be the first time that bidding and pricing is offered from one hand. And of course, it totally makes sense because maximizing the profit could be done in two different ways. If you want to be more aggressive, there are two choices. First of all is increase the bids of advertising, but the second one is to decrease the price. The first one directly has an impact on the advertising and only an indirect impact via cannibalization or not. But the pricing, of course, directly affects both the paid sales and the organic sales. And it makes sense to do it simultaneously and find the optimal combination. For example, lower price by 5% and increase bids by 10% to reach your overall goal.
And what are the factors you recommend taking a look at when setting the price? How sellers can know what should they put as the price?
Yeah, you need to build up a history to answer this question. So again, something that we recommend to be done automatically. And once you have a history of simultaneous price, number of paid sales and generic conversions, and if you change the price ongoing, then afterwards you can get these insights that's needed. And then, of course, you need to figure out the optimal price. Usually it's important to win the buy box because otherwise the volume drops immediately. But even to win the buy box isn't easy. Usually you simply lower the price, but sometimes you are even allowed to have a slightly higher price than your competitors if, for example, you deliver faster or you have a better rating. So it would be wasted money if you simply always go below your competitors' prices. So again, several dimensions that should be taken into account.
Okay, and when we go back once more to paid sales versus organic sales, is there a certain ratio you recommend to go for regarding to that?
It totally depends on your business model, country, and industry. There's not a common ratio. It's really.
I think in PPC overall, it's really difficult to make like overall suggestions, right? Because everything depends on the product, the category, the business model, everything, right?
Yes, of course, it's stupid to always answer questions with it depends. And of course, you can try to force us to come up with some average answers. It's okay too.
Okay, very good. So Neza, do you have anything else to add, which would be very useful for sellers to either think about or act on to optimize or set up their ad campaigns?
There's one thing I wanted to add to what Harald was talking about before, about how to best set prices. So Amazon doesn't allow really to just be super creative about it and go nuts. There are policies and they compare with the general market prices. So just pricing something at, I don't know, $400 because we think is worth it is not always going to work with Amazon. We always need to compare to the competitors as well, and not only on Amazon, generally speaking, because I think it's mentioned in the Amazon policies, they do whatever they can to ensure fair competition. So that is another thing aside from the history, which is of course a super valid point that needs to be considered. Like, what are the rules of the game that Amazon sets? So that is definitely something I wanted to add. And to your question, to be honest, I think we covered a lot. It might be worth, and I don't know how many of our viewers will have access to that, to see the manual profit maximization, speech that we did back for Sellerfest, because that kind of walks through the basic notions of things that we discussed, like the best bid. There's a formula in there if somebody's brave enough to attempt it. Of course, we, with the product that we have, would always just prefer to save everybody the time and have our machine learning algorithm do it for them, because we can do it faster and less prone to human error. But overall, to be honest, I think we covered the most parts. We talked about the bids, we talked about the keywords, the paths, the importance of search reports. So yeah, I mean, that alone is a full-time job and then some for a person to do. So yeah, it's quite a handful, especially if you're on several marketplaces at the same time.
So taking into account that Amazon advertising is getting more complex with every day, do you have any recommendation for sellers who are just starting out and can't afford any service? How can they set up a system that will work and would be more or less easily transferable for services when they decide to hire a service provider to take care of their ads part?
A recommendation is keep it simple. World is complicated enough, and even the account will be more granular later on. So if you simply start with few campaigns and only focus on auto campaigns, that's a good start. You know what's going on. You can understand everything by having a quick look at your account, set a small budget to be spent on the auto campaigns, and then wait some days and have a look what's happening. And then the process starts. Have a look where you burn money, reduce the bids, find something that could be leveraged, perhaps some keywords that could be added. Then perhaps it makes sense to create the first auto campaign, as the first manual campaign corresponding to the auto campaign, and then step by step go on. So let it grow and do it bottom up and not top down. Don't create 100 campaigns with 10,000 ad groups each and 5,000 criteria in each ad group. There is no need. The account somehow will show what works and then simply follow the path.
Okay, so simplicity is the key. So thank you very much for joining me today. And if anybody has any questions regarding PPC or your services, then what's the best way to reach out to you? And could you once more explain what does your software do and how do you help Amazon sellers?
Neza, your final word.
Okay, sure. So if anybody's interested in getting more information about Adspert, or actually even seeing how it works, you can always find us on www.adspert.net. There's a big yellow button in the upper right corner where you can start a free trial if you just like to go ahead and do it. Somebody from our team will reach out 100%. We always do that. The other option is on our contact form, you can reach out to us and just send your questions. And there, of course, we also have the email address, which is sales@adspert.be. And with that, an expert from our team will review your questions, consult internally with developers, with Harald, with me, if needed, and get back to you with your answer. So that is how you can find us. We make ourselves easy to find. So any channel you can find goes. As a final word on what it is that we do, so Adspert is a startup that works with bid management, meaning we optimize existing online marketing campaigns. We focus on 4 different platforms. So that's Microsoft Ads, Yandex, Google Ads, and most recently, our biggest and most important platform, Amazon Advertising. What does that mean in practice is that we review all of the performance data on the daily basis. We run it through our algorithm, through our decision tree that we've mentioned during this conversation, to make important decisions, to then implement them on your advertising account and really just make sure you get the biggest bang for your buck, while also at the same time save you time from all the manual interaction that you would otherwise have to invest into Amazon advertising, so you can focus on the bigger picture and the overall business strategy of your business, of your company.
In short, you define the goal and Adspert reaches the goal.
There you go, or that. one or the other, whichever you prefer.
Awesome. It's great to hear that you help sellers to run their stores more efficiently and also get more profit. So we wish good luck in your business.
I do hope you had some valuable information out of this session with the Adspert specialist. And if you want to test Adspert, check the links below in the description or contact them directly and mention that you found them on the Orange Click channel. They will help you to automate and optimize your PPC campaigns on Amazon, as well as other platforms like Google Ads. And finally, I would like to invite you to watch other video series, like it's a playlist with different videos we created about Amazon advertising, which will help you to be more profitable. I hope so. See you in the next video. Bye-bye. Beam, 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 beam.